and one of the ladies had her daughter in there. And she's like, I don't know how we got on the subject about Georgia. Oh, get over here. Hi. And the little girl, she's 13. She says, I was born in Georgia. And I said, really? So was I. I'm from South Georgia. She's like, what city? And I said, from Valdosta. The little girl was born in Valdosta. Oh. And so was I. That's where our family's from. I said, I'm so much a Georgia girl. I got a peach tattoo on my ankle. Yeah. So, anyways, we're going to go through this as quickly or as slowly as you want to. How many agents are experienced more than a year? Yeah, okay, so you're familiar with home warranties, kind of how they work, how they're in the contract. Okay, perfect. How many do we have online? A couple, two, three?
Two right now.
I'm Kimberly with Choice Home Warranty. I'm not ignoring y'all. Um, so my contact information is going to be here on the brochure. And you can always feel free to email me, text me, Facebook friend request me. I'm always putting up stuff about classes and CE and things like that that we do. Okay. And a few crazy mom stories along the way, as is life, right? So we're familiar with most home warranty companies, kind of what we cover, right? We cover the AC with the heating, the electrical, the plumbing, and the appliances. You can always add on things like roof coverage, septics, wells, extended mainline plumbing, additional refrigerators, pools, all that sort of stuff. Um, Homes over 5,000 square feet can be covered, but there is an additional fee because of how big the home is. So it's kind of in general what home warranties cover. Some people get confused and their buyers will call me and they'll say, oh, I need home insurance. And I know sometimes they just get the words flipped. I said, warranty or insurance? Oh, warranty, warranty. We pretty much will cover everything else that the home insurance doesn't cover. So when you're writing those contracts, I apologize. That is not my mother, so we're good. When we're writing the contract for residential service contract, are you guys writing it back in there? Writing the home warranty now for your buyers, like for the sellers to pay?
No.
Because good, because during COVID, I know a lot of that was written out because the market was so crazy. And we were writing out inspections, we were foregoing appraisals, like it was just a hot mess. But we are back to a pre-COVID kind of market, which is good. You know, I think I don't know what interest rates we're at the last weeks or two, but I think we're anywhere with 4 to 7, 4 to 6%, something around that. So, have you guys been busier? Because I've been busier. Like I feel like the market has picked up, so that's a good thing. I don't get paid till you guys close anyway, so I want y'all working so I so we can all close on some deals. A lot of people are not sure how the home warranty works, if it's covered on the same day of closing or if there's a waiting period. There is no waiting period if you're going through a real estate transaction. So they will be covered on the day of closing. We offer 3 different plans. Our ultimate plan is our best plan. And it's going to be on the last page of your brochure. It's $660. That is going to cover AC, heating, electrical, plumbing, all of the appliances, including refrigerator, washer, or dryer. Sometimes people ask me, well, the house isn't coming with the fridge, but we're going to bring our fridge from our own home. Will that still be covered? And yes, it will be. Even if they go to well, I don't even know if Cons is open anymore, but they used to have the like no, not rent a center. It was where you could buy them, but they may be scratch and dent.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
So let's say you have a buyer that wants to buy a used one, come on in. They can do that and it'll still be covered. So keep that in mind. I always tell agents as well to tell your buyers if they're gonna go to Home Depot or Lowe's and buy a bunch of brand new appliances, they don't need to get the extended warranty if they have a home warranty already. Because that would be an additional $300-400 sometimes. So if they're ever not sure, they can always call me. Our middle plan, well, the top plan for 660, like I said, includes all of that. And it also does include limited roof leak coverage. Now, the hurricane is rolling up through here. It's probably not going to be covered if it's hurricane damage. That would go under your homeowner's insurance. The middle plan is 580. If you have to negotiate, basic plan's 450. I try to never not sell you a basic plan because I do want your buyers to really be in the best plan. So the 660 is always going to be the best. The service fee is $75 for the techs when they come out. That's paid directly to the technician from the homeowner. If it's something that's covered and they have the part on the truck, they do the repair right then and there. Sometimes they need to order the part and come back. They only pay the $75 once. Sometimes things are not covered 100% and your homeowners may have a little out of pocket. We're always here to help them save money, not necessarily time. We are not an emergency service. I did have a lady's AC, I think, go out last Friday after hours. She called. She only has the one unit. A lot of homes in Houston now have an upstairs and a downstairs unit. So she had to, we couldn't get a tech out until Monday. So she went ahead and called her personal tech to come out. As long as they have filed the claim with us, and I can try, if I stay in the loop, I can try to get them reimbursed. Okay, just keep that in mind. If your buyers ever have questions, I always like to talk to them on the front end. That way we set up expectations and there's no, a full transparency, right? How are inspection reports play into this? Y'all familiar with we want y'all to do an inspection.
Right.
We want y'all to fix things that are broken before they close. Do we ask for it before we put the order in place? No, we don't. Will it come up later? Yes, if the lady moves in and 2 days later she's calling in 7 claims, then that's gonna be a huge red flag. If you're ever not sure, call me because I'm here to advocate for you and your clients and to help get those claims approved. So I always say, call me before you do anything silly, or if you're not sure. But inspections are important. We do want everything to be in good working order. I'm gonna really, really stress this one because 2 things have happened recently with buyers. They did not do a final walkthrough. So there was some issues when they decided to move in and call in a bunch of claims. And then buyers closed on a Wednesday, called City of Houston, get the water turned on Thursday, and she did not go to the house until Saturday. There was a huge leak from when the city turned the water on. Ideally, none of the utilities ever get turned off, right? We try to keep our sellers to please leave the utilities on for inspections and showings and all of that. But however this happened, I think it was an investment property up in Cyprus, and everything was turned off. And the washer and dryer machine unit, hookups were upstairs. So that valve, I guess, wasn't sealed or was it, and it leaked all downstairs. So we had a pretty upset home buyer, who then was blaming the agent. The agent was calling me. I was like, I don't know nothing to do with it, but just trying to see if home warranty would fix it. And I said, well, we would fix the initial leak, but that's all secondary damage now. So we dealt through that. But yeah, tell your buyers once they close, if they're having to get stuff turned on, especially water and gas, that they're present. I mean, gas, I think someone has to be there. But water, they usually don't have to be there. And Kimberly, nice to meet you. So again, no waiting period, $75 service fee. My 2 cents on making sure someone's there, do your final walkthrough, make sure everything's working on that final walkthrough. AC's cooling, heater's heating, hot water is making hot water. Do all the things, run all the things. If you have a listing and you have it's vacant, no one's living in the home, go buy that house and flush those toilets and run the water, especially if it's been empty for a little while. We bought our house, like I was saying, in the 3rd Ward area. My son bought in Sunnyside, and those houses sat empty for years, and then they were remodeled, and then we bought them. We moved in, and about 6 weeks later, we had sewage backing up in our house. So any homes that have been sitting and I'm just telling you from personal experience, please, when you do your inspections, you may want to consider doing hydrostatic testing. Here's a chair right here if you'd like it.
Which one is it?
Here you go. So 2 homes, mine was built in 40s, my son's was built in the 60s. We did not do hydrostatic testing because you feel some sort of way about that too. What if I cause damage when I do it? But if we had done it, I would have known that there was tree roots growing into the lines. And so that's when the sewage started backing up. So $6,500 later, home warranty does not cover that. Okay, so this home sitting and you're buying from an investor or a flipper, because we love flippers, but we know kind of what they do. They're ready to flip and move on. The sewage part is like a huge big deal because your buyers will be out some money if that has issues down the road. Okay. Any questions? We still cover Freon at 100%. We do multifamily units. House hacking is a big thing right now. Buy a duplex, live in one, rent out the other. We cover those. Each unit does need its own policy. Mobile homes. Elon's doing lots of crazy stuff in South Texas right now. I have recently partnered up with some developers that own mobile home parks. And what they have done is bought these 200 mobile homes in parks and are doing for sale by owners, and they put home warranties on all of them. So I didn't realize that trailer park business is pretty lucrative. Yes, please. So if you think about it, and you're not sure, you want it, we can pretty much add a warranty to anything except for commercial. We don't cover commercial. I get that question every now and then. Like if you guys own your own, building as a real estate office and wanted coverage. Pools we cover, saltwater pools and chlorine pools are gonna be the same price. They're only $190. Saltwater pools are very expensive to repair, so I'm very happy that our pricing is only $190. Wells, septics, luxury homes, anything over 5,000 square feet will be an additional $400 on top of whatever policy you pick. Whenever you have extra money, I work with some lenders that really do a really good job about this. Sometimes they'll call me and say, "Hey Kim, I know we had a warranty for $600, but I have an extra $1,000. I've already allocated it on the loan everywhere I can, but I don't want to give it back to the sellers. What do you want me to do?" Hey, we'll get a 2-year policy. Or 3-year, whatever extra money we have left. That way your buyers have longer coverage. So we don't, and I'm preaching that sermon to the lenders as I see them, so they won't forget about that. Like, don't give the money back or allocate the funds somewhere. But if you're done allocating it, call me and we'll figure it out for them. Let's see, anything else?
Can you go over what does this coverage for sellers mean?
Oh, yes, very good. Seller's coverage. So you guys that have listings right now, if the houses are sitting on the market for what, like 60 days or so, I feel like we're at about. And then God forbid you have an FHA loan that I just had fall through. That's another story. But the seller's coverage is there to protect the home during the listing time, and it's free to put it on unless you want HVAC coverage, and the HVAC's only $60. If you call me and say, "Hey Kim, I have a listing," if you already have the listing, we can still do this. It doesn't have to be now or a listing coming up. I have a listing that's been sitting. I'll go and put a sign writer in the sign, on your sign if you have space for it that says home warranty included. And then I will automatically add the HVAC coverage unless you tell me otherwise, because it's hotter in Houston than it is colder, and I would rather you guys have the coverage than not. And why would you want it? A good reason to have it is especially if the house is empty and you're doing an open house, the AC is not cooling, you can go ahead and just give us a call. The $75 service fee would need to be paid. And then if it's something covered underneath the plan, then they'll take care of it. Now, mind you, it is seller's coverage. It's technically free, right? Besides the $60. So we do have a cap on what we pay on those. The hopes of having the seller's coverage is if anything needs to be fixed, we have record that we fixed it. And then your seller would still buy a home warranty for the buyer because it's free, it's not transferable. And then that the buyer would still stay with choice. Anything that was repaired will go along with the buyer. So we have record of it. And I'll take off my home warranty hat and put my realtor hat on. The way I would use it is if you get an inspection and the buyers are asking for certain things to be fixed, outlets, just these mediocre things, right? Sometimes a leaky faucet, and you don't have a handyman that y'all use, call us and we can fix those things. Okay. Renee Sorolla with KW met, or I think he's met now. He's on auto lists and he's a big listing agent, so all of his listings come in and get home warranty coverage on them. So we do have the mobile phone protection, which is kind of a cool thing. We added it a couple years ago. If I know when I called Verizon the other day, they told me I was paying like 17 bucks a month for the insurance. I was like, man, that's expensive. It adds up over the year. If you have extra money or if they're interested, I think it's an additional 180 for the year, I think, and it will cover all the phones in the household.
Oh, nice.
So that's cheap. Like anybody that lives in that home, the kids, your spouse, that's an additional add-on.
So the repair people that use people here wherever you're located, or is there like a certain dealer that you go to?
No, I think it's still the same people like Verizon and Sprint, or Sprint's not around anymore, right?
No.
I just showed my age.
You didn't
What was
say
the one before
Promco.
that? Primeco. Yeah, I almost started thinking about Primeco. What was the one way
Singular.
back? Singular wireless. I had a BlackBerry at one point. That was pretty cool. You want those again? They're supposed to be high-tech security, right?
Supposedly.
But yeah, so and Financial Shield comes with the ultimate plan. A lot of title companies will go ahead and, that's why we have title insurance. This protects my son who bought the house a couple years ago, loves to go party in the Heights. He's 28 years old. He lost his wallet once. Luckily, the bar had it. We were good. But this also would protect him if he lost his wallet, like lost wallet protection, identity theft. That's automatically included for them in the 660 plan. So if you that's why I just encourage the 660 because it's just better overall coverage. If you don't work with a home warranty rep already, if you use an 800 number, whether it's me or someone else, just make sure you have a local person because we are here, boots on the ground, helping you guys out. I haven't had to go to a house in a while. The last one I went to was like Spring Shadow because it was like a Texan player that was buying the house and they wanted me to walk the house with him. And I'll do that because, it gives me an opportunity to meet someone cool. But I'll do it anyways for anybody if they really need, me to go out.
So let me ask you this. If they choose a plan, are they locked in for that plan for a certain amount of time if they wanted to upgrade or downgrade?
They have 30 days to change. So after closing, so let's say we only allocated 450. And then the buyer decides, oh, ideally we find this out before closing and we just order the 660 plan and the buyers will pay the difference at closing and then we're good. But I've been to closing too with every last penny I've had, and they do have 30 days after closing to upgrade. They can call me directly. I'll get the credit card payment for the difference, and then we'll upgrade their policy. And then that's add-ons too. Like let's say if we forget a pool, don't call me 3 months later and say I forgot the pool. There's nothing I can do at that point. They need to be added at closing or within 30 days. And that happened yesterday, but we caught it within their 30 days. And I looked up the house. I have access to MLS, so I can look up your listings if you're not sure what we need to ask for. The house had a beautiful backyard oasis with a pool house, and an outdoor kitchen. And I called the agent back and I said, are you sure you don't want the pool? Like they have this beautiful backyard that they're going to live in this summer. He's like, oh, no, they're okay. Closing was yesterday. He called me. No, they want the pool. And I said, I told you. So yeah, new construction also. There's a lot of builders in Houston that are what we call under 20 builds. They may be onesies, twosies, and they're done. They realize how hard it is and they don't want to do it again. We offer new construction for them. We don't cover the foundation, but they can get it's really like a 3-year home warranty for $660. The first year is going to be covered by the builder anyways, along with the manufacturer's warranty on everything. And then we pick up years 2 and 3. So I do have a meeting actually next week because in Cleveland, Texas, there's a lady developer that's building out there, and bless her heart, she's a little overwhelmed. She's 2 builds in and she's overwhelmed, which is, just real estate in general is overwhelming.
Is it Lori?
No, Genesis. Yeah, Genesis is her name. Yeah, and so I'm gonna drive out to Cleveland next week and meet up with her and figure out how we can work together and help her get some ease of mind that, she'll have coverage. And did I miss anything? New construction, coverage for sellers. Condo, townhome, and mobile home pricing is a little bit cheaper. The 2, 3, and 5 years, that's important too, because with the market kind of stabilizing again, sellers are having to give up, some money, right? They're having to give sellers concessions. When I think that's very important to use is, let's say the AC is 20 years old, but it still works. It's still functioning like it's supposed to. But your buyers are a little scared, like, man, I'm gonna get in this house in a year or 6 months later, it's not gonna work. Well, then have the sellers buy a 2-year plan or 3-year plan. Because you're gonna ask, hey, I want that whole AC replaced. They're gonna say no. Okay, well, can you give me $2,000 for a multi-year plan? Okay, I'd rather do that than give you $8,000 for an AC. So, and then that'll protect. So you can use that to negotiate. There's always a negotiate tool in there.
Okay,
Good.
sounds pretty good. I'm glad I know about the within 30 days.
Yes, within 30 days to make any changes.
The last client's coming up on the 30 days.
You did or did not?
We
You
did.
did? Okay, okay, good. Two other things is that if you have friends, neighbors, little league, whatever activities, and you guys are always talking about real estate, right? Let everybody know that you're an agent. If you're talking to your neighbors that say, hey, I've lived in my house for 10 years, what happens to my AC? And you usually be like, oh, I don't know, whatever. But if you refer them to me or connect me with your existing homeowners, they cannot be going through a real estate transaction. I can put them in one of these plans. There is a 30-day wait on them because they're not buying, right? They've already lived in their house. They can pay monthly, which is as low as $55 a month, and you can add this to your own home. And then you guys get $75 referral in those. Again, $75 for people that already live in their home, not going through real estate transaction, because that's a RESPA violation. And that's $10,000 for me to pay and you if we get caught. So we don't do that part. But a good way to make, a couple $100 extra during the month. All right, y'all good? Good? Any other questions? No? So can I get a selfie with y'all?
Absolutely.
I always say, I gotta get a selfie to prove I work today, even though my life is chaos.
I'll take it.
You wanna take it? Okay. I'll get over here.
Back to you.
No, you're tall, you sit down. Oh, no, you just said, I was just saying, stand. Okay, we are. Everybody in? Come on, Austin, let's say hi.
Can you see me?
I can see you, I can't. All right.
Can you see Miss Jackie? Okay.
Yes, we got ready. 1, 2, 3.
All right.
Yay, thank you.
Yeah.
She don't have your number.
Oh, yeah, I'll take it over to you.
All right, thank you, Kim.
No, thank you so much. I'm gonna just step out here and put more stickers on these for you, and then I'll just slide them.
Or you can actually stay. Can I get some fries?
It'll let me decompress for 5 minutes before I jump back on it.
Okay.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you like to help out with any questions, don't be embarrassed to call and ask me something off record. I'll have David say, I'm calling you off record. I'm like, yeah, I got you. Call me my personal phone. And then we'll run through a scenario, of the situation
This
that's
is
going
David
through.
Sims, David.
and kind of figure out how we should
He ain't been
handle it.
around this year.
All
He on our
right.
team.
Oh.
All right, so we're gonna take a brief intermission. We have Lakendra Coffman coming up next to talk to you guys about building relationships. So we'll be back in about 2 minutes.
I touch on quite often. I think it's very important in our business. So today I'm going to come from the direction of mistakes that many of us can make when building client rapport, and just how to overcome or what to avoid. Okay. It ain't scroll. So let's see.
If it's a,
Yeah, when I was hitting, it's not. All right. Okay, so introduction for those of you who are not familiar with myself, I'm Lakendra Coffman Harper, broker of the 5-Star Team. The 5-Star Team is under the Brooks and Davis. We are the largest team with Brooks and Davis. We're the first team to come to Brooks and Davis. But overall, guys, I just have a passion for working with first-time buyers and also newly licensed agents. I'm a wife, a mom. You know, I have 3 children. I graduated from Texas Southern University here in Houston. And
Sorry.
Texas Southern University here in Houston. My BSW is actually in social work. So that is where my career started. I got my real estate license in 2007, my broker's license in 2011, and I've been working real estate full-time since 2016. The 5-Star Team came to be in 2017. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe we joined Brooks and Davis around 2018, 2019, something like that, right? So just to give you all some history on myself, the 5-Star Team we're recruiting, always recruiting. So if anyone is ever interested and wants to learn a little bit more about us, you can reach out to myself or Miss Jackie Curry. Okay, so again, today, guys, we are discussing building client rapport and mistakes that many of us tend to make when attempting to do so. So mistake number 1, talking too much, listening too little.
Yeah.
Very important, guys. I know that many of us come into these situations with clients and transactions with our own opinions, right? But your client is always number 1. So you want to make sure you're not getting in your own way. Don't let your own thoughts and judgment intercept that relationship that you're trying to build with your client. So you want to make sure that you are listening to them, and not just listening, guys. Pay attention to their body language. Don't just listen to what they're saying. Listen to what they're not saying. Look for what they're not saying. I'm very big on that, especially in my first few encounters with someone. I'm watching. I'm looking for their body language and how they're responding to this property, what they are maybe a little turned off by, confused by. You just want to make sure that you are really receptive to what it is that they want to know, think they may know, don't know, okay? You want to make sure that we are listening to them both verbally and non-verbally. And I feel like the non-verbal, guys, is just as important, really. If I'm touring a property and I see someone light up when they walk into a huge laundry room, I'm going to remember that. I'm going to remember that, because if I find another property that has a huge laundry room, I'm going to be like, you know what? You're going to love this laundry room, right? So little things like that. You want to pay attention to those little cues. Tips to improve when you are talking too much, listening too little. Ask open-ended questions, okay? Make that client engage with you. Hey, so on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel about this property? You know, hey, I heard you sigh a little bit when we walked into this room. You know, what's your grievance? What did you not care so much for? The more that you get that client to engage with you, not only is it improving that relationship, but it's helping you to do your job better. Okay? Very, very important. You want to practice active listening and reflect their thoughts to show understanding, right? So if a client, whether it's something that they love or hate about a home, in the next property, bring that point. Bring that point to be, whether it's a pro or con. Example, I had a client who, after looking at a few homes, she determined I really don't like laundry rooms on the second level. That was something that, we realized after going and touring a few homes. So the last home we found, which ended up being the house for her, you know, I said, hey, I remember we don't like that laundry room on the second level. I was like, so you're gonna love this. The laundry room is right here, large laundry room right here on the first level of the home. So just little things like that. You want to make sure that you kind of drive those points and bring it back to their attention. Okay. Mistake number 2, failing to personalize the interaction. I know this is a business transaction, right? And we want to make sure that that client is checking said boxes. You know, they're not already working with a realtor, that they have been pre-qualified, that they know what it is that they want in a home, that their budget is realistic to what they want. We get all of that, okay? But we don't want to get lost in that. You still want to develop some type of personal interaction with the client. The client needs to feel like they are working with someone who is not just their supervisor or their manager, right? The more comfortable they are with you, the more pleasant it's going to make the experience for you both. Again, developing that personal relationship is going to establish what? I always talk about this. This is I think the most important thing that we need to establish with clients.
Loyalty?
Loyalty is good, starts with the T.
Trust.
Trust. Developing that personal relationship is going to establish trust. And having trust in especially in these types of transactions is major, guys. You really don't want to work with a client who does not trust you, who doubts your ability. Okay. So you want to make sure you're establishing trust. And if you extend that relationship outside of just what they're approved for, where they're looking, and what they want in the home, you're going to be more likely to establish trust. Ask them about their family dynamics. Do you have children? Are you downsizing? Or are you married? Are you moving here to be closer to family? Is this the side of town your family stays on? Really kind of get to know them outside of just the transaction itself. And again, it's going to help you to better do your job. Why it matters, clients seen, feeling valued. Again, everybody wants to be validated, right? And if the client feels like they actually like the realtor that they're working with too, again, it just creates a more positive experience. And to improve this, things that you can do, take personal notes. I don't know if you all, I know technology and things these days and write things down, but whatever it is that you have to do to just make note of those key factors about your client. I don't care if you're texting it to yourself, putting it on a calendar somewhere, writing it down on a notebook. I don't know. It doesn't matter. You may be able to remember it here, but whatever it is, I'm a note taker. I usually keep a little book with me anywhere. I'm gonna write that person's name at the top and key things about them, especially at our first meaningful conversation. I want to know, are you relocating from another city? What side of town it is that you're looking on? What your family dynamic is like. Those are key things that I kind of like to know about a person and what their must-haves are in a home. That's usually definitely my initial conversation with them. Those are things that I wanted to touch on. Okay. Reference their goals and interests. Hey, I know you said you like playing golf. This home is on a golf course, right? You mentioned that you have young children. This neighborhood has, 3 pools and various playgrounds around the community, right? Hey, I know you love to shop. There's a mall less than 10 minutes away from here. Okay, so you want to get to kind of know key things about them and make sure you bring up any facts about a property that's going to spark their interest. Okay? The home may be smaller in square footage than what they were wanting, right? Let's say I have to have at least 1,800 square feet. But let's say you found a home that's 1,650 square feet that checks all of their boxes, and it just so happens to be less than 10 minutes from the mall, and you know what? Your mom is just a couple exits away. That 1,800 square feet might go out the window, right? So you just want to remember those key things to bring those up, especially when there is a con. I like to try to have a pro for every con. Okay? Send personalized messages or property suggestions. Now, I am very big on if I'm working with somebody and I just say I can be doing a property search for another client and be like, oh, this property would be perfect for such and such. Hey, I saw this and thought of you. Let me know what you think. Real quick to do that. Let me ask y'all this if y'all have ever hit this situation, because it happens to me kind of often, where I have a client who will send me a property like, hey, Lakendra, can we go see this home? And yes, we definitely can. And then I'll send it to somebody else like, hey, this home meets a lot of checks on your list. Would you like to go and see it? Have any of y'all been in that situation? Send that property to both clients. It may shake for somebody. You know, we had an agent here within the Brooks and Davis family. I never forget. I showed this home to like 3 or 4 clients. It met the criteria as far as what they were looking for in square footage and bedrooms and bathrooms. And I figured somebody's gonna like it enough to want to make an offer on it, and you know, that's what happened. So I don't want you all to think that this home has to be for this specific person. If it meets the criteria for more than one person on your call log, on your clientele list, send it to them all, okay? Being too transactional too soon. So I was kind of discussing that with, I know we want to make sure that they check said boxes. But what often happens, you may turn a client off when you are just working down your list. Because what you may find is that it's just non-personable. And that person, that potential client may feel like that bond isn't there, or at least that initial spark of them feeling like you're the person to work with. If I'm just, okay, so have you been pre-approved or not? Okay, and how long have you been looking for a home? Yes, and how many bedrooms do you want? Do you see the difference from me just running down the list, just asking those questions versus having a conversation where I'm asking them about themselves? You don't focus so much on reading down the list. Have a genuine conversation with somebody, and you can have a conversation and still get those questions answered. Okay. I know the market has changed and the requirements have changed, or we have to have this buyer's rep signed up front. But one thing I kind of do feel like that can lead to, especially if you're not finessing that right, if you're not going in the right way, clients may feel, hold on, a little, that you're being a little pushy too soon. Well, yes, I would love to show them this home, but okay, I'm gonna send you over this paper. I need you to read this. You're gonna have to sign this before we can walk on the property. We're gonna have to, I want you to develop a way where you can have a conversation to make them more comfortable about committing to signing that buyer's rep. Because what you have is, especially around the Gen Z, they're scared of commitment. You want me to sign a paper, sign what?
Wow.
So, and they're likely to just end that conversation and move on to somebody who's willing to do it without pushing that level of commitment so soon. We all communicate differently. We all interact with these clients differently. So I'm not telling you the right way to do it, but I am going to say you need to find some way that is comfortable for you and comfortable for that client, that you're not making them uncomfortable by pushing that buyer's rep. Did you have something to say?
I was just gonna make a quick suggestion
Yeah.
for those people who are hesitant about committing and don't wanna sign that paper long term. I make it good for that day only.
Yes.
So like, this is what we have to do, you know, just for today only, and they're more agreeable that way. And then if they wanna come back, then we'll sign a future date. But you can sign
Yeah.
it for that, just that day. to go
And I'll
forward.
be honest, if it is especially a Zillow, I do a lot of Zillow leads. That is what I do. We'll just sign it for that day, and then we can decide from that showing if you're comfortable, you know, continuing to work with me moving forward. And then we can sign a more long-term buyer's rep. Okay, so don't get so caught up in that form being signed. And if it's the one day, that's fine. Do your job, build that bond, and make them more comfortable to continue working with you. Okay?
Do you need that in place before you show the house? Is that right?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. You need it in place before you show home. And I'll be honest, with Zillow clients, I do not show it until we are at the property.
Okay.
We can be right at the door. And just have, I'll tell them before time, like, hey, there's a form that I may need you to sign. I was like, well, just do it for this one property starting out. I always let them know that once we get to the property, greet myself, ask them about themselves. And then at that point, they're typically more comfortable signing. I pull it right up on my phone and do an e-signature. That is what has worked best for me. Because I feel like just through a phone conversation, I don't really trust people like that.
Right.
So if you just tell me, hey, I'm emailing this, I need you to sign this before we can go, you probably won't hear back from me. So that's what I'm saying, kind of use your judgment, use your error judgment, use your caution as to when is the best time to pull that paper out. Okay. Clients feel like just another number. Okay. And this is just touching back up on what I said about having a genuine conversation with them. One of the most common things that people assume about realtors is that we're always busy, right? Oh, and I know you're busy. I know you're busy, right? And many times it is correct. However, I do want all my clients to know that I'm busy, but I don't ever want them to think I'm too busy for them, right? So you all want to make sure that you are keeping that balance. No, I don't want you to feel like you can call me at 9:00 a.m. to see if I can show you this house at 9:30. That's not how I work, right? I don't work like that. However, I don't want you to feel like you're last on my totem pole either. So you want to make sure that you are providing some type of stellar service to everyone. I always tell a client, I'm never too busy. There's never a bad question. Call, text me, whatever form of communication you need. If I don't answer, no, I can't get there to that in that moment, but I will as soon as I'm able. If I haven't called you back within a couple hours, hit me again. I am forgetful, but you just want to make your clients feel like they matter. Okay. So again, as we discussed, tips to improve, guys, that personal conversation, that's always going to be a hit. And sometimes it will result in clients telling you their childhood story about their divorce, the kids who don't listen. Many will begin to pour their heart out to you, but for me, it lets me know I'm doing my job. Okay. Build rapport before discussing deals. And if it gets to when you have a client, when you're ready to make an offer on a home, I do think that you want to make sure there's some type of rapport established beforehand, right? As I said, I just think it will make the transaction itself smoother, and it's big for establishing trust. That trusting relationship, very important. And whenever your client is talking, whether they're crying, laughing, complaining, whatever, show genuine interest. Okay? When my client was crying about her husband and what he did and when he left, you sit there, you actively listen, you console, you affirm their feelings. Okay? Everyone wants to feel like they're, whether it's, in a story, opinion, whatever, like they're being valued. So show genuine interest. It's all a part of customer service. It's all part of the job. Mistake number 4, not matching communication style or pace. So this is something that I see as a common practice with agents on my team, and that is just not being, we all have our preferred style of communicating, right? And sometimes we think that's the way we're supposed to communicate. That's the way you prefer to communicate. That may not be the way that your clients communicate. And if you don't take the correct stance on adjusting to their style of communication, it really could lead to damaging that working relationship. So be aware of that. I'm a talker, right? If you text me and I can't read through that text if we got a problem or not, I'm hitting you up. That's me. I need to hear tone. I need to hear your attitude. if there is one, or maybe, you know, I've misconstrued something, maybe I've misunderstood it. So that's me, I'm a talker. As I've grown more experience in these fields and as my clients have gotten younger, I've had to adjust. Because many of these clients, text, oh my, text, right? So I've had to adjust to that.
Too much is lost in translation when you're texting.
Yes,
Because you can't tell a tone in a text, you really can't.
most
Or
definitely.
you misconstrue it more. times.
Exactly, right.
And if you think that a phone call is necessary, something then ask, can we talk? Can you call? But you can't assume that, oh, I had an agent who's a talk. She's like me. We communicate the same. Her client only wanted to text. And when she would call them, they wouldn't answer the phone. Can't take it personal. That's just their preferred style of communication. So adjust, send them a text, ask them to give you a phone call. Okay? So, you know, just kind of ways in understanding that and adjusting to the clientele that we work with to make our jobs easier. You know, I'd mentioned before who I had a client who he didn't necessarily text, but he only used voice note through WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Only. If I called his personal phone, he wouldn't answer. If I messaged him, his response was slower, but for some reason, just, you know, WhatsApp was his thing. So I had to grow and adjust to it. So be comfortable with that, understanding that, you know, the way we work in our preferred style of communication may not be the way that your client communicates at all. Different personality styles. Let me make sure that's not number 5, because okay, no, that's not, okay. I want to make sure we touch on that. Personality styles. I am a very sociable, down to earth. My background's in social work, so I'm gonna meet you where you are, right? Working with someone who is super analytical, like engineers, doctors, attorneys. But I have to adjust. They communicate completely different than me. I like when I'm showing homes, I want to see the emotion in your face. I would like to see a smile. I would like to see oh, no, you know, I don't care so much for that. Those are the things I look for, whether that's verbal and nonverbal, right? But when I'm working with an engineer or attorney, it's ah,
I like
Ah.
that.
you are.
Dot I cross the.
Right too, but they're just very, and for them, they can absolutely love the home. You know what it comes down to them?
The
numbers.
Numbers, yeah.
The numbers. They're not moved by that high ceiling that they love and, you know, and these wooden floors. And yes, I know that it has the game room and the theater room that I wanted. Yeah. They're gonna go give all of that. And yes, it does check all of the boxes, but can you run the comps? Can you run the reports? I would like,
Yeah.
okay. I had to grow used to that because their response is different. Again, I like to respond to emotion. Another thing, typically, if I'm working with a wife, she gonna be more on the line with the way that I like to communicate. Husbands, and they look at things completely differently as well. They're more about security. Wife can love the home, but you know, I really don't like this side door right here. It's just direct access to the side of the house, and there's no, so you know, getting to learn those things over time, it's helped me to better communicate with my client. But overall, whatever your personality style is, just know that your client's personality style may be the exact opposite. But it doesn't matter what their personality style is. I'm going to adjust. I'm the professional. That's my job. Okay. So be flexible. Flexible, client-centered, client comes first. And it says here, I do think that's a good tip. Asking how they prefer to stay in touch, asking how they like to communicate. What time of day do you like to communicate? Okay. Some clients may not be morning people, or they may have They may have jobs that they report to early in the morning, so they're not available after 5. You may have some clients that go to work at 5 in the evening, so they may be hitting you at 8, 9 in the morning when they get off work. So you should all have some idea of what your client's schedule is and when the best time is to communicate with them. Mirror their speed and style. That's true. Work how they work. You know, if a client is maybe when they go into a home, they're more observed. They tour slower. They move from room to room slowly. I'm not going to be in their way. I'm not. Hey, let's step into the living room and we'll go to this room next. You know, with them, I'm going to just tell them take their time. I'm just going to be down here checking emails. So move how your client moves. Get to know, you know, how they communicate and adjust. Mistake number 5: overpromising or sounding scripted. You know how there's a negative connotation to car salesmen. I don't ever want anybody to view me as a car salesman when it comes to this, right? This is too important. This is your home. This is the typically the largest investment you're going to make in your life. It's too big a decision for you to think that you are working with a car salesman, right? And I say that, like, even sales, I don't consider this sales. Like, I'm you know, I'm a change agent. I'm helping you to find what you want. We don't want to sound salesy. We don't want to sound scripted. Okay. So keep that all in mind, guys. Over promising. You can tell somebody you can find them a 5-bedroom with a gaming media for $200,000 if you want. I know sometimes we kind of do things to just get the client, right? But what's the point if you know you're not going to be able to really realistically hit that goal and then just piss them off in the process? Okay. One of my listings that I have now that's in contract, it was on the market for, say, about 3 or 4 months with another agent. And the home is a nice home. It is beautiful. They took great care of it, move-in ready, but it was overpriced. It was far overpriced. And in talking with them, and asking them why they selected the initial agent that they did, well, she was confident that she could sell the home at that higher price. And it was so funny because the wife was like, I thought that was too much. Like, I knew it was too much money. And so when I ran comps and it was like, hey, I think ideally we need to be here around this number. She was like, yeah, that's exactly what I thought from the beginning. But you know, what happened was that agent overpromised. And because she couldn't sell it at the price that she had told them, they were immediately unsatisfied and unhappy with her. When really, she could have easily sold the house at the price I listed it for, right? But because she overpromised in the beginning, she had already set a tone here. And I didn't come and do anything magical. Nothing different needed to be done to the house. All I did was make sure the house was priced appropriately. And then foot traffic started coming through, and then multiple offers started coming through. So in their minds, oh, you've done an amazing job, Lakendra. Oh my gosh, we just love you. Thank you. But I didn't do anything that the prior agent couldn't have done, should not have done. But again, she just overpromised. And when I listed the home, I never forget, she called me day one on the market. First, she told me to take her pictures down. Now let them, not your picture, sweetheart. I had my own photographer go out. So we had that little battle. And then she was like, you know, I see that the price has been lowered. She was like, I wish I had done that from the beginning. Yeah. Sometimes it's just better to just be more realistic. I know that 320 I know it sounded amazing, but it wasn't realistic to that house in this market, you know? So don't overpromise. Never overpromise, because it'll come back to bite you guys. It'll come back to bite you in the butt. Saying what they want to hear instead of what's real. I'm sure we have all met the client who feels like their house is worth more than what it really is or what the market says, right? And this may be true. Your home may be larger, right? But you have leopard print walls and yellow walls and purple walls, right? That impacts value. But many times we have this personal connection to our properties that you can't necessarily see that. And, oh, well, Miss Smith sold down the street and her home sold at, 1.2. And it's like, yeah, but her home was a clean slate and move-in ready. And here you are with 5 dogs and leopard print walls, and you're arguing me, telling me that your home should be at least at 1.5 because it's larger than her house. So you don't want to just tell somebody what they want to hear. Now, there may be a situation where, hey, let's do this. I had a listing in Sugarland some months back where I felt like the home should have been priced and where the client felt like it should have been priced. We was about 60K apart.
Still there.
Right? So I was like, let's do this. Come down 30, I'll come up 30. Every 14 days, if I'm not getting the action like I need to get, let's taper down that price until we hit the point where I feel like we really need to be. So you may have to kind of mediate in that sense. But what I will say is at least let the client know up front. At least forewarn them, right? At least educate them. I have a contract now. When we got the inspection, I messaged my client like, hey, I need you to review this report because from what I'm seeing, I really don't feel confident about you proceeding with the home, right? She's young, she's single, and I was like, some of these issues are major issues that I would feel more comfortable with the homeowner like on down the line. I wouldn't want to sell this to a first-time buyer. So told her my honest opinion, and she's a church member of mine. I said, please go through this report with your parents before you call me back, because I do not want your parents thinking I sold you a lemon. Please review this inspection report with them. And she did that, and she called me that evening, and she was like, well, I'm talking to my mom, Lakendra, and she says that, this is a common occurrence in Texas with foundation. I was like, you're right. It is. But typically I want to advise a client to go to purchase a home that already has it, right? Mm-hmm. I said, yeah, foundation issues are common in Texas, but it's not commonplace for me to sell a house to a first-time buyer with foundation issues. So her and her parents discussed it. She was like, and I said, you know what? I feel like you're a little torn. I said, is this the home for you? Is this your house? And she was like, I feel like this is my house. Okay, if you feel like this is your house, my job is to make that happen. Not only to make that happen, I'm giving you all the education that you need with it. As long as you know what I'm telling you is not even a future issue, but a prevalent issue right now, and you're still fine proceeding with that issue, we're good. Her parents were like, they supported her through it. If it needed immediate, they would help her. Bet. Not a problem. We proceed. But I've done my job, right? Because I've educated her on what my opinion is of the situation. And in doing that, I did not push my opinion on her. I didn't do that because I could tell that she was still torn and with the issue of do I proceed or not, right? And when she verbalized to me, this is our house, okay, that's completely fine. So we proceed with this house with the potential issues that it has, okay? So that communication thing is very important. Again, that was me talking on the phone and listening like, hey, I sent some hesitation. You need to be aware of those types of things. And I know that there may be properties that we go into like, there is no way. And your client may be like, I love this, right? Whose opinion matters more? I know you're the professional, but the client, right? So I'm not saying, well, she said she loved the house, so I ain't gonna tell her about that big old crack that I seen going across. I'm not saying that. No. Warrant them with all the tools that they need to know to make the educated decision moving forward. And then if they still choose to do so, that's on them, okay? All a part of communicating. And you gotta learn that balance, because I've just taken on so many clients who were working with the agent who they felt like were not listening to them. Are being too forceful. I told her I wanted this and she was showing me this, okay? So at some point we gotta take our personal opinion out of it And I usually don't even go in like, ooh, ooh. I look at my client first. I try to get a sense of their body language first. And then if they ask me, okay, sweetheart, I think we can do a lot better. You know? So just be mindful of those things too.
Yeah, I learned that the hard way. I just send them all the houses. I'm not selecting anything. Walked into that house last week, it literally had orange shag carpet. And my client fell in love with it. I'm looking at this like.
Yes.
Wow.
Go back to town, baby.
It happens. So I've had to learn how to kind of hide my, there was a property I showed where I had literally turned around to apologize for showing her a home that was in such,
Yeah.
and she was like, this is it. This is perfect. And I was just like, okay. 'Cause I was ready to apologize, like, oh my gosh, like the pictures were so deceiving. So just never be quick to assume. But that taught me to always look for my clients' verbal and social cues first before I start with mine. Yeah. So just some final tips, guys. Focus on genuine connection. We don't want to oversell. We want to personalize every interaction. Communicate clearly and in the client's preferred style. Super important, okay? Build trust through honesty and active listening. Listen to your clients. Reflect on your recent client conversations. I keep trying to scroll the screen like that. I do always say that anything that you can remember specific to that client, whether pro or con, bring those back up as as y'all go to see more properties and things. Your clients are going to feel like, oh, she remembered that. You love that, keep that in mind. And identify one area where you can improve rapport building. This may seem like a lot, but this is something that you can kind of work on over time, but maybe practice one new habit a week. But I really want you to, when you are interacting with these clients, guys, make sure that you are analyzing them individually. I know I'm speaking stereotypically with Gen Z likes to do this and men this and women the right? But every person is not the same. So you are going to kind of analyze each client individually for their communication style, right? For their body language, for their response, for what they need in an agent. So keep that in mind. Maybe everybody doesn't need a teacher. This could be their third or fourth house. I really just need you to show me these homes and write up this contract once I find the perfect house. Okay? Everybody's not going to read the same. Does anyone have any questions, any comments? That's it. That's it for us, guys. This is my contact information. If anybody wants to, if you're not following me on social media, follow me on social media.
Thank you, Lakendra.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see.
All right. Stand up, put my pants and Lucy.
Mhm.
Diana, you was our first agent to walk through the door today. You She's like, oh.
Oh, surprise.
Always this.
You know what?
And Margaret, you asked the most questions.
You don't want me to come in the room?
I was seeing you the first time this year. Really? Oh, we didn't see this.
All right.
I know.
Thank you all for joining. We're going to close this out. Y'all have a great rest of y'all's day.
All right, anybody have any questions or anything? Not, give it the next time we meet.
Thank you guys for coming.